Hello, friends. I am gonna get my shuttles wound and give everybody a chance to join in before we get started. Hello, Sandra. How are you? Productive days are good. Yes, love to hear it. I am also having a fairly productive day, despite the fact that I am tired today. It is a sleepy day. Taking the day off work so your body can rest to fight COVID. Well, rest is good. That is important. But I am sorry that you are in the position of needing that. I feel like the music is too loud. Let's turn it down a little bit. I did not have enough shuttles free. I ended up having to clear off shuttles and still did not have enough shuttles free for the 3 shuttles that I needed. So I grabbed this Lasis one that I bought to try to do a comparison video that I'm still working on. And I'm not sure, it's a little smaller than the Clovers, but like the casting is not as clean and the plastic is like feels cheaper. So that was an interesting discovery. The last of 3 roommates to have it. Hello, Sarah. How are you? Only 2 colors if you're gonna do 1 color for the collar, yes. I am gonna go ahead and do the color work technique, so I needed 3. But if you are gonna do a solid color, then then feel free to only use 2, yes. Hello, you finally got your login. Congratulations, welcome. Yeah, I figured I was gonna pre-wind my shuttles so that they were ready to go, but then I was like, well, when I start, I should give everyone some time to join in, because I know that there are always issues with logins. I had to re-log into my Streamlabs app even, so this will give everyone a chance to get joined in. And if you are watching the replay, I will try to put a timestamp for like when I actually get started here in the replay. Yeah, finish your knitting first. Absolutely. Been way too long since you tatted. I know the feeling. Sometimes it feels like I go too long without tatting when I'm doing other things. Yeah, like I said, absolutely no pressure. This is gonna be a very chill stitch along. If you wanna just come hang out, you are more than welcome to do that. You do not have to be stitching along to join in. So I'm winding 2 shuttles, continuous thread method, with my color that I want my skulls to be. So in my sample I used a white color. For this one I'm going to be using this cream color, and then I'm going to wind my 3rd shuttle with my 2nd color. That will actually be the bulk color for most of the collar. Should be doing an assignment for a job, but you would rather be here. I mean, that sounds important, but I'm glad that you decided to join in, because there's something to be said for taking a break. You have 1 airlit and 1 moonlit shuttle. Would you advise just filling them both to the max? The moonlits do hold quite a lot, but depending on how big you are, what size you're making, yeah, you could probably just go ahead and fill them to the max. Because you're, I think on this one, I ended up needing to refill shuttles at least twice during each row. So you will definitely end up using it. The pattern is released to my pattern club on Patreon. So if you are not part of the pattern club, the pattern will be available next month for individual purchase. But I can tell you that the Patreon price is a much better price. You get a little bit of a deal on the price, plus you get access to all the lessons and everything still. Yeah, so if you're not part of the pattern club, you're still welcome to just hang out with us, and then I will be posting the replay for this to my YouTube. So if you are joining in late with the pattern after it's been released to the general public, I suppose is the term I'm looking for, it'll be available for replay. You had an aha moment with the chain. Congratulations. That aha moment, that's all it takes, is that one moment where you suddenly understand what you are supposed to be doing. And then it's easy. Yeah, I think the Pattern Club is a very good deal. The Pattern Club is $12 a month. And the patterns that I publish under the Pattern Club generally retail anywhere between $12 and $20, so you get a better price. Plus, like I said, you get access to all the lessons and everything else that I have, all the rest of the content that I have up on the Patreon. Okay, so there are those, and I'm going to use this other shuttle. See, even the feel of this one is just different. Like it's not as heavy. I think the plastic is different. I'm not sure I'm gonna like this one, but we will see. Yes, and all the other Patreon patterns. I have patterns that were released along with the all of the lessons, so they were designed to go in tandem with the lessons. But there are, I think, 15, somewhere around 15 patterns in addition to the Pattern Club. Hello, Sweetling. Did Clover release new shuttle colors? No, this is a shuttle by Lasis. It's a different brand. And I grabbed this because I didn't have any of my other Clover shuttles free, and I don't have any spare Clover shuttles. I couldn't even grab like shop stock or anything because I am completely out of them. The Airy level, okay, so I have 2 Patreons, so let's not get, let me try to clear this up. So the lessons Patreon, where I have all of my lessons and patterns, is patreon.com/getnotty, that is KNOTTY. And then I also have a personal Patreon for people who want to support me as an artist, and that is patreon.com/sparrowspite. So 2 different Patreons. I know it's confusing. I have been trying to think of a way to like make that a little bit clearer, but I do want to keep both because I have people subscribe to both. So they're 2 totally different. Totally different Patreons. This one, see, it doesn't even have that side's clicking, but this side is not clicking. And this is interesting because I have the other Lasis shuttle. This is the Sew-Mate version, and it's bigger. This is a 3-inch shuttle. And the plastic on this is more like the plastic on the Clovers. So I don't know why the small one is cheaper made. Yeah, I like I said, I need to try to find a way to clarify the difference between the two Patreon pages. Question of the day. If I have a shuttle without a hook, what size crochet hook would I get? 0.75? That's a good question. I think, let me try to remember. See, I don't know crochet hook sizes off the top of my head like that. Let me see, what is this one? This is my super, super tiny one. So this is a 0.5 millimeter, and I would say that's really too small unless you're using really small thread. So for a size 10, yeah, probably 0.75 would be okay. I'm trying to remember. I think these might be a 0.75. I think it says on the product page listing. I could be wrong. Yes, it is annoying because the parts don't touch. So this side is okay, but like if I were to drop it, like it's just gonna unwind on that side. So like, you see how it flips over when I let it hang because it just unwinds. So yeah, that's a little annoying. You've used a 0.9 millimeter crochet hook for size 8 and size 10. Okay, good to know. Good to know. I think anywhere between like a 0.75 and a 1 millimeter is probably good. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna like this shuttle at all, y'all. It's already spread apart just from that amount of thread I have on there. Ooh, pretty ones. Yes, that would be... Now you're getting fancy. Stuck deciding on thread. Could either do one in black Aunt Lydia's or in a colorful Lisbeth. That would be easier to follow the pattern. I would say if this is your first time, I know some people have already started working on this pattern because it released the first day of February. I try to put my patterns up on the first day of the month. But if it's your first time following through on the pattern, you might want to try the colorful one. And you could even just do a smaller piece just to get comfortable with the pattern and then try the black. That would probably be a good idea. Yeah, this shuttle is going to be not great. We will give it a shot though. I'll give it a chance. I will give it a chance. Okay, so I did print out my pattern, but I think I'm just gonna use the visuals here. And I'm sorry, y'all. I was gonna print it out in color and I forgot to order it ahead of time because I would have had to order it and have it shipped to me. And completely forgot to do that because I only have a black and white printer. I don't have a color printer. But I think this should be fine. Let's see, it's 2:15, it's been 15 minutes. I think we should be okay to go ahead and get started. If everyone is prepared and ready. I'm gonna give a few more minutes just to get questions through because I know sometimes there's a delay on the questions. Do I wind the shuttles the same or different colors? So if you are doing the color work to get the skulls to show, like my sample piece here, if you want to do this, then you need one set of shuttles wound continuous thread with whatever color you want the skulls to be. So this is going to be color, let me check my page here. So on the color work instructions, this is going to be color A. And then for color B, I have one shuttle just wound with that. Are beads easy to add to this one? Absolutely, you could add beads to this one. If you wanted to, even, you could just put a bead in place of every picot, and that would make it really, really easy to follow. I wouldn't recommend doing your first one with beads. I would recommend starting it without beads, just to get a feel for the pattern first. Sandra, kind of want to work along with the pattern, but you won't ever finish your doily. I have a feeling that doily is going to be an ongoing project for you anyways. It is a very large project, and you have been doing amazing with keeping it going. Very proud of you for not giving up on it. Because I know at this point I would have been completely over it. All right. And then this one was really hard to try to get the sizing down, so that's why I included this little chart for the sizing, just to make it easier, because the math works up to something like 0.93 repeats or something like that. How do you do the continuous thread method on the shuttles? So you're going to take your ball of thread and you're going to wind your first shuttle, your shuttle 1, or whichever shuttle you want to. Honestly, it doesn't matter that much. But you're going to wind one shuttle off of your ball, and then when you get that full, you're going to pull off extra thread. And that's kind of, you kind of learn about how much will fit on your shuttle. But you're going to pull off extra thread until you have enough, cut it away from your ball, and then wind your second shuttle from that cut end, so that you have one really long piece of thread with your 2 shuttles meeting in the middle. Does that help? And that will get you set up to start. Excellent. Okay. I'm thinking I maybe should have started this about half an hour sooner, earlier in the day. So we may run a little late because I want to get y'all, I don't want to go too fast here, but there will, and confuse anyone jumping in late, but there will be the replay posted. Yeah, Sandra, that's another way you can do it too. Kind of depends on whether you're using 2 bobbin style shuttles. Sandra said alternatively you can also wind 1 shuttle, and for the second one you can wind a bobbin and then wind it back onto a second bobbin. That is true. You can absolutely do that. I do the other way because I use 2 different style shuttles. Essentially, the goal is just to have 1 long piece and then 2 shuttles wound from each end of that piece. So whatever way is easiest for you to set that up. There's not really a standard right or wrong. That's just the way that I do it. Okay. Is there anyone in here who needs another minute before we start, or are we good to go? Let me know. Also, just to mention, this is the first time I have ever done a stitch along. So if there is anything, any feedback that y'all want to give me by the time we get to the end of this, please absolutely feel free. Do not hold back. I can take it. If you have any criticisms or things like that about the way that I'm running this, absolutely would love to hear it, because I would like to make these stitch-alongs the best that they can be. All set. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So if you have your pattern, we are going to start with row 1, and row 1 is actually not the top row or bottom row of the pattern. Row 1 is actually going to start right here. Let me take this bow off so you can actually see the edges of this. We'll just get rid of that for now. So row 1, we are going to start with this ring right here, and that is, and work this direction, and that's going to be our first row. So we're going to be working on the little Scully's eyes to start with. And this pattern is written a little bit differently than the rest of my patterns. Most of my patterns, and most tatting patterns in general, are going to be written so that you count the stitches. But with this pattern, all of the stitch counts are just 2. Everything is in stitch counts of 2. So instead of counting the stitches, we are going to count the picots. So our first ring A is going to have 7 picots. And of course, I'm going to go ahead and completely mess that up because I've been doing other patterns today. I have to get this back in my head. And you can make your picots as large or as small as you want to. I like my picots fairly small, not super, super tiny. You could also use a picot gauge for this pattern if you really wanted to be precise, but I think that patterns like this with all these extra decorative picots are actually really good practice for getting consistent picot sizes down. So if you feel like your picots are not super consistent at the start, they will be by the end of this pattern because there are a lot of them. 4, 5, 6, and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's always helpful to double count before you close your ring as well. So now we have our first little Scully eye. Hello, Imrail. Oh no, I'm so sorry that it took you a long time to get in. We are just getting started. I tried to give everybody enough time to join in, but like I said, the replay will be posted to my YouTube later, so you can go back and watch it again in case you missed anything. And also, I kind of forgot to mention right off the bat, but this color work technique only works if you do unflipped chains. So if you are not familiar with my tatting style, here is going to be a crash course for you. So I'm going to set up for my chain, and then I just took my second color, my third shuttle, and I am going to hold that along with my first shuttle thread so that these 2 threads are going to become encapsulated as the core thread for this chain. So this is going to be my chain B, which is going to be 3 picots. Again, everything is just 2 double stitches. And I find that this works best if you try to make sure that your core threads don't get twisted. So try to keep them nice and flat next to each other. And you may see a little bit of your second color poking through as you're making the chain, but don't worry, because if you snug up your tension, that should kind of get hidden a lot better in there. So now I have this set up with my first chain here. So here are my 3 shuttles, and I made this end really super tiny because actually I could probably pull it through a little bit more because it's just gonna get snipped off. It will be plenty secure in there. So this is what it looks like right now. So shuttle 1, shuttle 2, and shuttle 3. And shuttle 2 and 3 are going to switch places back and forth as we work along our row 1. So the easiest way to really keep track of this is your second color, whatever your accent color is, that is not the skull color, is going to be the chains that have these reverse rings. So that's a good way to kind of keep track of where you're at with the pattern and which color you're supposed to be using. Because not only does the colors alternate, but these reverse rings alternate. So it's every other chain has this reverse ring, and that's this color. How did I add the third color? So I just held it along with my core thread as I was making my chain here, and in order for this to work you have to do the unflipped chains. So that is one reason that you need to have 2 shuttles for your lighter color here, or whatever color you're using for your skulls, so that you can do the unflipped chains. So you can see I have my 3 threads here, and my shuttle 1 thread and my shuttle 3 thread are all encapsulated in as the core thread for this chain. Yeah, so this thread is going to be picked up for use for the next chain, and starting it like this is going to make it nice and secure. You won't have any ends to weave in or anything like that. So it's just kind of like a neat little trick to keep it nice and clean and start it easy. So now I'm going to make my next ring A. And all of the ring A's, all of these shuttle 1 rings along the top row are the same size. It's just that in place of one of our picots, we are going to be joining to the previous ring. But it is not the first picot, it is actually the second. So I've got 1 picot, and now I'm going to join to the previous ring A, and I'm going to join to this second picot that would be right across from where where this would be a picot if it wasn't going to be a join, if that makes sense. I really struggled with how to write this pattern and make it super clear and easy to follow. That's another reason I think it's great that we're going to do the stitch along, because I can clear up any confusion with the pattern. And 5. So there's 2 ways to do your picot count for these following ring A's. On the pattern, I have it written as 1 picot, join, and then 5 picots. So that's an easy way to go. Or if you want to, you can count 7 again, but counting that join as a picot. So either way, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or you can do 1, join, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whichever is easiest for you. I'm trying to go slow enough for y'all, but let me know if I need to slow down. Now I have 2 little eyeballs for my first little Scully. So these are his 2 eyes, and this is his little mouth. Okay, so here's what it looks like right now. Still got a bunch of twist in this thread. So here is where we are going to switch our shuttle 2 and shuttle 3 colors. Yeah, cute little eyeballs. So I'm first going to set up for my chain like I normally would with my shuttle 1 thread, and just keep that around my pinky there. And next I'm going to switch my shuttle 2 and 3 places. And I experimented with a bunch of different ways to do this, and I found out that the best way that was like the least noticeable and made it the easiest is just to make sure that you are crossing whichever thread you just finished with. So whichever thread was visible for the previous chain over top of the next color to switch. So in this case, I'm going to be taking my shuttle 2 thread and crossing it over top of my shuttle 3 thread. And then I'm going to wrap that around my pinky here to get set up for this chain. So now I have my shuttle 1 and my shuttle 2 threads are going to be my core thread. So the whole way across this row 1, all of the chains end up being what's called a padded chain because it has extra threads running through it. So they're just a little bit thicker. So now I can pick up my shuttle 3 with my second color, and you'll see on the back side it's just crossed underneath there, and I'm just gonna start my chain like I normally would. I do that little extra half stitch for my nested chains. You don't have to, I just like the way that that looks. And then I'm gonna do my first half of chain C, which is gonna be 2 stitches, 1 picot, 2 stitches. So now I've got half of that chain, and again, I'm making sure that these 2 core threads are not getting twisted up. They're gonna stay nice and flat next to each other, and that's really gonna be a key in helping this stay nice and not look wonky. So now that I have that first half of that chain C, I'm gonna turn the piece over, reverse work, and make my reverse ring D. And that is made solely with the 3rd shuttle. And I'm doing front side, back side tatting on these reverse rings. You don't have to. Again, personal preference. And just counting my picos to make sure that I have enough picos, which in this case is 4. And now that I have my reverse ring completed, I can just turn it back over. Put a little bit of this back away. And make the rest of my chain C. Yeah, I don't like this shuttle, y'all. This shuttle is not a vibe. Does not pass the vibe check. But it's what I got. Okay. So now we finish our chain with just that 1 picot there. Ta-da! Now we have shuttle 3. If I can get it untwisted. Shuttle 2. And shuttle 1. And now we just continue from there until we reach the length that we want. It's a little fiddly getting that color work technique down, but once you do, this piece actually goes pretty fast. Hello, Celeste Rose. Welcome. It is kind of like magic, but it's also very, very simple. We are doing a stitch along today, but thank you for joining us. If you are just here for the vibes, that is also okay. All right, so I am now going to do that switch again with my shuttles, with my shuttle 1 or shuttle 2 and shuttle 3. Crossing my shuttle 3 over top of my shuttle 2. And then starting my next chain B. And if your threads kind of start to twist here, you can just take them and sort of pull them apart, and that'll get them back into place. Just vibing today, huh? All good. And I know I'm being super, super detailed about this row, but I really want to make sure that I get y'all to understand how this color work technique works, because I know it's a little bit different and I've never done a pattern with this technique before, and it's a little bit unusual. So there we go. And then on the back side, here's what that looks like. Sometimes you might get a little bump right there from where you switched. So if that happens, it's okay. No big deal. But most of the time that little switch over is pretty invisible. Not super noticeable. Celeste, if you didn't have like 600 crochet projects going, you'd be at the store right now getting shuttles, huh? Well, maybe you should get some anyways, just in case. Just for when you're ready. What's a few more projects? That's absolutely right, Emriel. What is a few more projects? If you already have that many. I do not recommend this brand in this style of shuttle. This laces shuttle is not doing it for me, but the Clover and the Airlit and the Sparkle colors are my personal favorites. Y'all are enablers. We are. I am a professional enabler. It's literally in my job description. Bagel Woman says, I'm actually sort of proud of myself that I'm finishing this knitting project instead of breaking out the shuttles today. You know what? I'm proud of you too. That can be definitely challenging when you want to work on something other than what is your current project. I have that happen to me quite frequently, so good job. Celeste Rose, you are absolutely welcome for the recommendations. And if you would like to see what products I specifically recommend for beginners, I do have a blog post up on that. I do usually have kits for sale on my website as well, but they are out of stock at the moment. I'm working on getting them back in stock, so hopefully soon. Dory D Photo says, I am not a fan of the laces shuttle either. I'm about to toss it in the trash. Yeah, this is actually the first time I've tried the laces. This one is specifically what they call the Celtic shuttle. It is their smaller shuttle. It's a 2.25, I think. It is just a tiny bit smaller than the Clover, not by much. They also have another style that is their Sewmate, which is a 3-inch shuttle, and the plastic is completely different on those. So I think this one, quality-wise, is better, but I don't like bigger shuttles. I like smaller shuttles. So I grabbed this one to use. Noelle says, I'm being responsible and doing chores before finishing a different tatted project. Responsibility is overrated, but I'm proud of you anyways. And yes, I like for people to have both styles of shuttle. This is a post style shuttle and this is a bobbin style shuttle. I like to tell people to get one of each. They're not expensive. They're very affordable. Get one of each so you can try both and see which you like the best. I personally use both all of the time. But I do tell people specifically if you are going to get the Airlit brand bobbin style shuttle, only get the sparkle or pearl colors. These are the only colors that I stock in my shop. There's a pink, a blue, and a purple. They are the only ones that I recommend. And I try to mention that every time it comes up because Even though they're not expensive, I don't want people to waste their money. So now that I went over the specific color work technique for this row 1, I'm just gonna tat away here and answer any questions from the chat that come up. But if y'all need me to repeat any of the information or the steps or try to show you a little bit slower, please let me know and I will do that. Dory asked, have I tried the Sunlit shuttle? I have not tried it. I have one in a basket downstairs. I'm planning to make a shuttle comparison video, but I just haven't gotten around to doing that. That's actually where I grabbed this one from. I hadn't used it yet. So I have it in the basket to try, but I have not tried it yet. Sarah asks, am I the only one being irresponsible and just starting a 4th project? No, you are not, because I strictly have a only 3 projects at a time rule for myself, because that I've found that that's about all I can handle and keep track of, and this is my 4th project for this week, so you are not the only one. Let me see here. Noelle says, oops, I think the 3rd shuttle I ordered was not the good kind of airlit. That's okay. If it happens to be that it was one of the bad ones, let me know and I will show you my trick for keeping them as workable as possible. I really should make a post on the difference between the two in more detail so that I can get y'all to really, like, just to have it as a resource up for everyone. Sarah asked, could I show the reverse ring when I get to one? Absolutely I can, yes. And I am on that part of the chain right now, so I will be doing that. See, one thing I don't like about this is when I added the thread, it spread the shuttle apart. So now I can't do my usual trick of letting it hang to unwind the twist, because it just unwinds itself from the shuttle. Imriel says, is it irresponsible to start new projects if the reason others haven't been done is because I need to find needles to stitch in the ends? I don't know if that's irresponsible. Tomorrow you may be questioning today's use choices. Let's put it that way. Bagel Woman, I am also glad that I did the testing. That's one of the reasons I want to do that comparison video, so that I don't necessarily want it to be like a ratings of good versus bad, because everybody has their preferences for different things and different reasons. There are certain things that I don't like about specific shuttles that aren't really necessarily flaws with the shuttle. It's just, it doesn't work for me and what I like. But I would, like, things like this are kind of important to know and point out. So Dory says, please show the trick. I have a couple of other airlit shuttles. Absolutely, I will show y'all. Essentially all it is you get the shelf liner, the like spongy texture shelf liner, and cut a strip of it, roll it up, and like shove it in the center of the bobbin, and it'll just help the bobbin grip a little bit better. But I can make a specific video for TikTok and or wherever, and post that on my blog too. Okay, so here is the section where I am ready to do the reverse ring again. So for a reverse ring, if you are not reversing the work for chains, obviously with this technique, you can't reverse the work for chains. And I never reverse work anyways. So we're just gonna flip the piece over to reverse work. And then I'm gonna use whatever shuttle is making my chain stitches, that's the shuttle I'm going to use to do a reverse ring. So it's just like a regular ring, but it's just made on the reverse work. You just reverse work, so it's made on the back side. And then I specifically do front side, back side tatting, so I reverse the order of my first half, second half of my stitches, and in order to get the picots to all be facing the same side, but you do not have to do that. It doesn't affect anything. So I'm gonna make my reverse ring with the number of picots that I need, which in this case is 4. And then after I close the ring, I turn it back over, so reverse work again so that I'm now on the front side, and I can finish the rest of my chain. So I'm just gonna put my 2 core threads together like that. See, this is, I am not having a good time with this shuttle. And now that I have finished this chain, I have my chain with my reverse ring. Sometimes these are called throne rings. So if you ever see that referred to in a pattern as a throne ring, it's the same thing. And hopefully that was a good little bit there. Let me know if that made sense. Oh, so that's a problem. Haha. Haha. This shuttle literally just popped right apart. Nope, it didn't actually break. Noelle says, I think that trick is actually in your first beginner video. Oh, the trick with the shelf liner for the bad aerolets. Yes, I think it is. So this style of shuttle, the plastic ones are usually cast in 2 pieces. And this shuttle apparently is not cast very well and does not fit together securely enough. So I think, see, now the ends meet. So I think if I were to just drop a little bit of super glue in there, it would probably hold together. But I am not impressed with that shuttle at all. So here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna put this back over here. I'm gonna try this 3-inch. See, this plastic is like totally different. It's a lot stronger. First of all, the pick is pointier, and it's also bigger than my clover, so we'll see how this goes. If I can get this untangled. I'll probably be recording that shuttle comparison video later this coming week. So if you're watching the replay of this, at some point I will probably update this video, the description for this video, to add a link to that video when it's up, because that was, I have never had that happen before, where the shuttle like came apart as I was using it. That is a first for me. Sandra says that's our proof that this is not staged and live. Yeah, there you go. That's your proof right there that this is completely live. Imriel says, was that the laces shuttle that you used to show how to use the spring thingy? The spring thingy would be this, which is the laces tatting shuttle winder. No, that was a different, that was this shuttle that I was using on that video. That was a different shuttle by the same company. This shuttle is called their SewMate, S-E-W, SewMate shuttle, and it's a 3-inch shuttle. The one that I was just using that came apart on me is what they call a Celtic shuttle, which is not what I know to be a Celtic shuttle. Celtic shuttles are usually very long and very, very skinny. So it's almost more like a stick shape, but it is very small. Panda Angel 99 says, I had it happen once. I was on vacation on the beach and had no spares. Oh my goodness. It was one of the artistes from Hobby Lobby. Yeah. That's one of the shuttles I did not get for that video because I don't shop at Hobby Lobby. I don't go there. But I did get several other styles to show. Dory says, just checked my Laces shuttle and it did the same thing. That is not good. Sandra says, I got some Prim bobbin shuttles in a sale a while ago and didn't like them at all. I don't think I have that. That Prim brand, I think, is a UK company. And I've never seen them available anywhere over here. So I don't have that one to show either. I think I have a couple different Clover ones, including the Clover bobbin style shuttle. I have some other Laces ones. I have several of the different Handy Hands shuttles because they have a lot of different shuttles. Sandra says, oh, I see. I only see they do a lot of haberdashery or whatever you call it. Haberdashery to me would be like hats. I could be wrong on that. So I'm not sure if that's what you mean. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that Prim is a UK company, like a UK brand. Here it's Sewing Supplies. Okay. I think Clover brand and Prim brand are connected or related, but I could be wrong. Oops. Kicked my light. Like the little stuff you use that is not fabric. Yeah, so that would be similar to Clover. Clover is one of those brands that has their fingers in all of the crafty pies. Bagel says that's notions. Yes, that would be notions. What are considered sewing notions here. Indo Atale says, have you tried the metallic bobbin shuttles? They have never given me problems. I have tried the metal bobbin style shuttles in the past. Yes, I don't like them because of how heavy they are, but I have some issues with my hands and fatigue, so I think that might play a factor into that. I do know that a lot of people really like the metal style bobbins, metal bobbin style shuttles. So it's a good option for other people. Darastrix says, I just realized I did 2 chains in a row with the thrown loops. Oops. Yes, oops. Unfortunately, the way this pattern is written, those alternating rings and chains, you kind of have to unwork that. I'm sorry. It doesn't work out. It's not one you can just kind of work work the mistakes in and not have it be noticeable. Sandra, yes, I believe that is more of a British or Irish term for it. That for haberdashery would be the like British term, British English term. Darastrix, yes, even if it's at the very end. I'm sorry. Hello, Oren. Just working on the Pico exercises from Patreon. That is an excellent thing to work on to get prepared for this pattern. Because there are a lot of Picos in this pattern. At least it's only 2 rings to work back through. Yes. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. I forgot to mention too, but this little tail end from the start where we just first started that first chain, you can clip that off at any point and just go ahead and get rid of it. I like to keep my work nice and clean and keep my ends trimmed as I work my extra thread ends in as I go. I don't like to save them for the end. I know some people do, but... Noelle says saving them makes tangling too easy. Yes, exactly. That is one of the reasons that I trim ends as I go and work my ends in as I go. Sandra says, but then my cat has nothing to play with. Fair. I wonder, you know, they say with cats, they like to mirror you. So, like, they tell people who are, like, trying to work on a laptop and their cat, like, keeps climbing on the laptop to get the cat its own laptop, like a toy or whatever. I wonder if your cats need their own tatting project. Sandra says, which is my excuse that I just don't wanna. I know that it's one of the, like, dealing with thread ends is, like, the worst part of any craft, any fiber art, any fiber craft. Nobody likes dealing with ends. But I'm gonna have that video up on all of the different ways that I hide my ends as I go and how I sew my ends in very, very soon. I was working on editing it this morning, actually. Editing just takes me so long. Speaking of cats, how the heck do I remove cat hair from tatted things? That is a good question. Tweezers, I don't think I have a better answer for you. That sounds like a serious issue. Imriel says it's just cat glitter. Noelle says, I figured, which I'm okay with for my own things and for other cat owners, but for other people, I just hope they aren't allergic. Yes, and that is one of the major reasons why my daughter's cat lives at her grandparents' house. No cat hair allowed. I think I forgot to mention too, so for this stitch along, we're gonna have it in 4 parts, and each part is gonna, each day, each session, whatever you want to call it, is gonna be focused on 1 row of the pattern. So for today, we are just working on our row 1. So whether you are stitching along right now or you are joining in later for the replay, don't feel too pressured to like try to go too fast. I don't want these stitch alongs to be a source of like frustration and stress for people. I want to keep them very chill and relaxed and enjoyable, because that is the entire point of doing handcrafts and hobbies to begin with. At least that's what they tell me. So this shuttle is bigger than what I'm used to, but it's honestly not too bad. It's not terrible. I expected it to be worse. I think I still like my clovers better, but not a bad option, especially as it's a little bit bigger, so it will hold more thread, so that is a plus. Sarah asks, do you have any tips for designing patterns? I've been thinking about experimenting to make myself a moon that I designed, but I'm not 100% sure where to start. Sorry if this is too tangential. No, that's absolutely fine. I don't mind questions like that are a little off topic at all. So yeah, I do actually have a whole blog post up with sort of my advice for designing. Designing can be, it's very personal to each person. So it's hard to kind of nail down this is how you go about designing, and I can only tell you what my approach and my method is, but there's other designers out there who have completely different approaches. But like I said, I have a whole blog post up that I think would probably help you out. I have considered doing a class eventually on designing and not just how to design your own patterns, but how to write patterns, how to use Adobe Illustrator to make the charts, and all of those things that I do to finish my patterns off for sale. But if I do that, it's probably going to be quite a ways into the future. But yeah, so my approach to designing is kind of like learning to think of tatted elements as Legos. So like each element is kind of a building block, and once you understand how those building blocks are shaped, you can start to understand how they fit together. And once you understand how they fit together, you can start trying to put them together in different ways. That's sort of my approach. And I also do actually have a pattern for a crescent moon, a tatted crescent moon, along with a sun and a star that I am working on putting into a little collection of patterns that hopefully will be up very soon as I have time to work on finishing the charts, because that's the part that takes me the longest. So if you're interested in that, that'll be up soon too. Yeah, I think it would be a cool class to have. It would be a little bit difficult for me to figure out how to host that class specifically, because I feel like that class needs to be a little bit more hands-on with like for helping individual students. I don't know if pre-recorded lessons would be as helpful for folks. Maybe they would be. I don't know. I need to think about it a little bit more and consider the best way to do it. Because I don't know if Patreon would be the best place to put that. We'll see. I definitely have some leads on some other platforms to use for lessons and things like that and teaching content, so we will see what happens in the future. Definitely interested. Okay, good. Good to know. Sometimes I think about doing classes on certain topics and I'm like, but would anybody actually want to go to that? So it's always good to get feedback. Oren says I would pay for individual sessions at some point, like for tatting or for designing tatting specifically, or both. Hello, Hermit. Oren says, for right now, I'm just thrilled my picos are coming out the size I intended. Good job. Excellent. That is always one of those things that can be somewhat tricky for beginners to learn, so I'm proud of you. It honestly took me a very long time to get my picos consistent. Oren says both once I get through all the beginners lessons. Okay. That is something I also considered. I really miss doing in-person classes because I like to spend more one-on-one time with students and like help them individually. And obviously with the 160 some students that I have on my Patreon currently right now, that's a little bit difficult to do like one-on-one for everybody. But maybe I can figure out something we could do virtually. I'll have to think about that. Noelle says, I think the answer to should Sparrow teach a class will probably always be yes. I want to live in your crafty brain. I can tell you right now that my crafty brain is complete chaos. It is always chaos in there. Sandra says maybe you could do slots for one-on-one lessons like I do for custom pieces. That's a good idea. I could maybe do that. I think part of it too would be figuring out the best platform, because I've done Zoom enough to know that like the video quality is not always great. So I would want to try to figure out a way to make sure people are getting, you know, it's hard to teach, especially something like this where there's such fine detail, if the video quality is not super great. So that's just one thing that I would want to keep in mind when figuring out how to do that. Hermit says watching this is like watching magic. It is kind of like magic. I think all crafts are magic. Even when you understand how they're done, I think it just gives you a deeper appreciation for the magic that is the fact that you are making something with your hands. Hermit, we are doing a stitch along today, so having a good time with that. That's why I'm working on a specific pattern and trying to explain steps as I go, but everyone is more than welcome to hang out just for the vibes. Sandra says you make complex hand movements and produce a beautiful thing. Definitely spell weaving. I agree. Definitely. Just because you understand how something works or how it's made doesn't mean that it's not magic. Bagel Woman says, I'm just here to listen to the shuttle clicks. I keep threatening to put like an hour-long ASMR of just a shuttle clicking loop up on my YouTube channel. Everyone loves the shuttle clicks. And they are good. They are very good stimmy sounds. Imrel says, all this talk of magic amuses me as I sit here crocheting cat-sized witch hats. Appropriate. Appropriate content. Yes, Emerald, we would all love to see the pictures of the witch hats on the cats when they're done. Noelle says, the clicking is what finally sold me on tatting. Usually I get people with the pocket crafts, so maybe I need to add in the stimmy shuttle clicks as part of my arsenal for enabling people to pick it up. Noelle says, need more pockets to take advantage of pocket crafts. Listen, I never specified how many pockets or how big the pockets needed to be. Okay? Sandra says, you got me with the post of the cuff and collar set way back when. Yes. That's another thing I get people with. Imrel, please, by all means, absolutely share pictures in my Facebook group. I would love to see them. And I know that the group would very much appreciate seeing them as well. I think we actually have a cats tatting hashtag in the group because we have so many cat posts. Sarah says, one of the things for me was how affordable the supplies were. I was wanting to knit something that cost at least $50 and yarn, so to know $20 started me several projects. Sold. Yes, that is another one of the really great advantages to tatting as a craft, is the affordability aspect. Even a single ball of thread can get you a lot further than a single ball of yarn in terms of finished projects, I feel like. Yeah, until you buy all the colors, Sandra. Yes, you are correct there. That's another problem. We won't talk about that. What gets me, honestly, are all the little like bits and pieces and extra things that I like to include, like beads and chains and charms and just all the little goodies. That's what really gets me. I think I have more beads than I have thread, and that's saying something. Need to start actually using them. Oren says, my ball of Rainbow Splash just got here. Yay! The Rainbow Splash thread is very, very bright. Sandra says, I am always impressed with people who manage to only buy for a specific project in any craft. Same though. I don't buy supplies for specific projects. I buy supplies and then invent projects to use them. Sarah says, not me sitting in this being like, should I buy more shuttles? Absolutely, yes, you should buy more shuttles. Oren says, also hand-dyed Lisbeth on Etsy is dangerous. Agree. I haven't bought any in a while, but Merrily Rockley makes the prettiest hand-dyed tatting threads. Like, the colors she chooses are just fantastic. Sarah says, so I'm gonna buy more shuttles. Good. I'm glad. Happy birthday to you. It's not like they're expensive. They're usually somewhere around $4 or $5. And even the like handmade ones that are fancy inlaid or carved or painted, like I still feel like they're affordable. Oren says, pretty sure that's what I'm using right now. The thread. We have a couple different conversations going in the comments here. Noelle says, ooh, I could ask my carpenter spouse to make me shuttles. Yes, you absolutely could. There are some beautiful wooden shuttles on Etsy and floating around different pieces, different places. So if he needs some inspiration, there are plenty of other people out there doing that as well. Oren says, it's a soft lilac to lavender to very pale pea green. Oh, that sounds beautiful. Yeah, if it was from Yarn Player's Etsy, that would be Merrily. Noelle, your spouse. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize for that. I should not have assumed. You are correct. they could definitely go find some examples on Etsy to get some inspiration. Yeah, Oren, at one point I had considered trying to dye my own, do some hand-dyed thread, but I think I much prefer to dye finished projects instead. That's just a little bit more my speed. It's a little easier too, I think. Sandra says, after you suggested dyeing myself, I was very close to buying all the supplies and spent hours researching. Yeah, that's... it's like a whole other rabbit hole to go down. I will say, though, that the few times that I've tried dyeing fibers or fabric or whatever else myself, it's honestly much easier than it seems. It's just time-consuming. Warren says it was custom cotton ink. I'll have to check them out. Warren says I've been wanting to learn tatting for a long time and had been stashing thread for a long time. Well, I'm so glad that you finally had a chance to sit down and learn. Now you have an excuse to buy even more thread. That's how that works, right? Noel says that is how it works. It's how it works for me, at least. It is already 3:30. We've already been at this for an hour and a half, y'all. It did take us about a half an hour to get started. So I will definitely keep that in mind for future sessions. Whoops. Made that picot really, really small. Whoops. Lost track of where I was at. Imrael asks if you were going to put beads on this one, where do I think I'd put them? Probably on pretty much just wherever there's a picot, a decorative picot, I would do one bead. And then wherever there's a join, I would do my 2 beads like I like to use. But you could also do like just one, if you wanted to keep it consistent, you could do a join bead wherever there's a join. Oren says, curious, how do you maintain your ring/loop size? I feel like mine shrinks so fast. So if you mean the ring, the loop that is around your hand, it's going to shrink as you make stitches. The more stitches you make, the smaller your hand ring gets, because that's what is making those loops for your stitches. That's where the thread is coming from. So this is one reason why it's important to be able to adjust or have your stitches slide nicely so that you can just adjust your hand ring size. So anytime your hand ring starts to get small, you can just go from the bottom of the loop that's on your hand and pull that to get more thread out, so that you can get a larger size around your hands. And some of that is going to be in relation to the size of your hands, like how quickly it feels like you're using thread, and then some of it is going to be your tension. So the looser your stitches are, the faster you are going to use up that thread. And the tighter your stitches are, the less quickly you will use it up. And also your thread size. So again, a larger thread size you're going to use up faster. A smaller thread size you'll use less quickly. So you just keep adjusting. At least it means I've got the flip down right. Yes, correct. Yes, if you are doing the flip correctly for the rings, then you will be able to adjust your hand loop size and continue going. You honestly just get to a point where you are comfortable enough and familiar enough with holding everything that you'll just be in a state of constant adjustment. Like it never stays perfect for too long. So and if you watch, I do it very quickly, so I know it's hard to tell, but if you watch me tatting, I do adjust stuff very often just to keep it comfortable. So like right there, I made it a little bigger. Bagel says that flip is the downfall of so many projects when you're starting. Yes, it is. It is the downfall of so many people who are trying to learn but give up, unfortunately. Which I hate to hear, but it is absolutely the hardest thing that you have to learn in all of tatting. Everything else is very easy. I feel like I need to get myself one of those like armrest things, like the wrist rests that you get for like keyboards, and put it down here for where my forearms are like resting on the table. It's like I get red marks. Hello, Ruby Soho. How are you? Bagel says, I taught my left-handed sister tatting this summer, and that was my biggest moment of pride when she started doing the flip automatically every time. Same though, like every time I'm teaching in person and like have a student in the class get that like aha moment of like, not only do they understand what's happening, but they can do it consistently and intentionally. It makes me so happy. It's just that little blip of happiness of that like, I got it moment. It's fantastic. Noelle says the wrist rests are a lifesaver. Yeah, somebody remind me to go order one. Because I say things like that and then I just forget until like the next time would be streaming, and then I would remember and then I'll forget again. Just ADHD things. Oren says, just got a gorgeous wrist rest with moon phases and florals. Ooh, pretty. I love moon phases. I have moons all over my room. You've probably seen them in the background of some of my videos. At least now that I've been doing videos for a while, I'm a little bit more used to holding everything at this angle versus the angle that I would like naturally tat at when I'm not filming. Because, like, when I first started filming videos, like, this felt really awkward to hold everything down so that y'all can actually see what I'm doing. Bagel says, just finished my 450 stitch bind off on this knitting project. Congratulations! That is a lot of stitches. Binding off is always the worst for me with knitting. Like, I hate that part so much. I have to say, I'm really glad I chose these two colors for this project because I think this is going to turn out really cute. It's like a little latte color. Oh, because I forgot to mention it at the beginning of the video, the two colors that I'm using are the color 610, which I believe is called Cream, and then the color 693 in, I think this one's called Linen. Both of those are Elizabeth size 10. Noelle says I've got black and silver coming for mine. Ooh. That's exciting. Ruby says, almost finished my first tatted doily, but I lost it. I think my dog stole it. Oh no! I hope that you find it and that it's not too damaged. She chews up everything. Oh. That makes me sad for you. Like, it's bad enough to have an animal steal your work and chew on it, but like, your first one, that's just so sad. Noelle says the cats like to literally steal projects out of my hands. And this is, as much as I love animals, this is another reason why we do not have pets in the house. I guess at some point I should decide whether I'm doing this as a solid all the way around collar or if I want to do a split collar. Oops, I did too many picos. I just finished a purple split collar version of this. It's the darker purple of this color, that antique violet color. And I feel like the split collar like lays a little bit differently. But also then you have to make two, and I don't know what it is about having to make like two separate pieces that just kills my desire to work on anything. So maybe I'll just do this as one piece. We'll see. Where am I at with it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I was gonna do it as a split collar, I would need 9. So we're almost there for that. Let me catch up on comments here. Ruby says, oh, by the way, as a beginner at tatting, your double back method has saved my sanity. The double back method is one of my absolute favorite tricks, and I am so glad that you like it too. I'm including that in my updated video that I'm working on editing right now. That's going to have all of my different tricks for hiding ends and all of that stuff in one video altogether, with a little bit of a better camera angle, I think, than some of my older videos. So I'm glad to hear that it's working well for you. Darastrix asks, is the measurement chart based on the inside or outside edge of the pattern? That would be for the inside edge. So along this up here, this edge here, and thank you for pointing that out. I should probably add that into the pattern because that's kind of important to know. But yeah, it is the inside edge. So like if you were wanting it to fit more of like a necklace and less as like a collar on a shirt, that would be the measurement for where you would want it to sit on your neck. Sarah asks, what's the difference going to be between the split and the full option? So the split collar would be that it's in 2 pieces rather than 1 piece. So really the major difference for that is that if you wanted to have like a decorative bow or like a brooch or something in the center front, you could then put a separate closure in the back so that you don't have to untie the bow every time you want to put it on and off. But it does lay across the shoulders just a little bit differently. So it's a little more adjustable and it's a little bit easier to get on and off. But other than that, there's really not a whole lot of difference between the two. Also, if you were going to like sew it to a shirt or something, or like a dress, a lot of the types of shirts that you would want to wear this with, or that most people would want to wear this with, you could wear it with anything really, would be like have a closure in the back or the front. So the split collar would kind of allow you to work with a back closure type blouse or dress better. Maywin asks, how long is your collar? So this one here is, I think this one was the 21 inches. Let me check the chart to make sure. 23 inches. No, 21 inches with 23 reverse rings in the first row. Yeah. So this one is 21 inches. I have another one I made that was 16 inches. And then the split collar that I made is the 8.5 inch finished length. It really kind of comes down to how, like, where you want it to sit on your body or whoever is going to be wearing it. So this one on me sits a little bit lower down, so it's more like the collar on a shirt, whereas the 16-inch one fits more like a necklace collar. For reference, what size am I currently working on? I am trying to decide what size I'm going to make this one. I think I might actually make this one the 18-inch, so with 19 reverse rings in the first row, and make it a solid piece all the way around like this one is. I was considering making it the split color, but I know myself, and I know that if I do that, I am absolutely going to lose interest, because this is going to be the 5th one of these that I've made in the past month, so let's just make it easy on myself. And I know that my brain will lose interest if I have to make 2. I just finished the split collar version that I made yesterday. I wanted to have it finished before I had the pattern published so I could put a photo of the difference in there, and I just did not have time. But it's also a solid color instead of doing the color work. That way you can kind of see what the difference is between those two. So I'll post pictures of that to the Facebook group later, after I get some nice photos of it. And then once the pattern goes up for sale on my website, I will have that example in the pattern as well. Imriel says, just for the tradition, because I don't think we've talked about food yet, I just had some peanut butter mini Ritz cracker sandwiches. Now I'm gonna be hungry. Thanks for that. No. Yes, we usually end up talking about food at some point during the stream. In fact, when I was getting ready and getting set up, I told my partner that I was going to go stream, and he said, don't forget your snacks. I was like, no snacks today. Sandra, you finally got yourself some gummy bears. Yum. I'm glad you finally got some gummy bears. I still have some left downstairs. Noelle says, I've been doing our meal prep for the week and eating lunch this whole time. See, so we had some food content going on. It was just background content. Risking Man says, I just shaped my dough for the bread I'm making. Yummy. I love fresh baked bread. I need to bake some bread, actually. Sandra says, about to put my sourdoughless rye bread in the oven. Yum. I can't wait to hear how that turns out. I love rye bread. I think I still have a loaf of rye bread in the freezer to bake. Well, it's not bread yet. It's dough right now, but I should have pulled that out to bake because now I want some rye bread. Noelle says, I made rye croutons from the loaf I baked yesterday. Not a huge fan of rye by itself, but excellent croutons. Oh, that does sound good. Yeah, I've been eating a lot of pickles lately because of POTS things and salt cravings, and it's just one of my safe foods that I can eat most of the time. So I like rye bread with my pickles. So I found a rye bread recipe that I can make with my spelt wheat since I am wheat free. Not by choice, by necessity. Warren says, dill pickles are one of my favorite foods. Me too, but I'm very particular about them. I like them to be crunchy. If they're like soggy or soft, like no thank you. I like crunchy pickles. A vegan Reuben salad with sauerkraut and tempeh bacon. Noelle, that sounds delicious. I don't know that I've ever actually had a Reuben salad, but that's making me want to try it. Oren, I agree. Soft pickles are weird. I'm very, like, flavor... there's not very many actual flavors that are, like, bad to me. But texture is a really big thing for me. Like, food texture. If it has the wrong texture, I cannot eat it. Oops. I got my shuttle switched. Noelle, I would absolutely love to know the recipe if you have a chance. That would be great. I love trying new recipes. You know, for someone who has a lot of food aversions and issues with texture and things like that, I love trying new things. So I'm a little bit of an oxymoron there, I guess, but I will try just about everything once as long as it is a texture that I know I can do and does not contain something that I know I can't eat. Warren says the Vlasic dill snackers are always in your house. Those ones are pretty good. My favorite brand of dill pickles that I've ever found is actually the Clausen's. I almost forgot the name. I like the Clausen's brand because they are not heat packed. They are always cold packed, so they're in the refrigerated section. So good. The crunchiest pickles ever. And also, I'm the only one in the house that likes dill pickles, so I can just, like, buy a jar and it's just all mine. I can just eat straight out of the jar, like, nobody else is gonna eat them. Yeah, Oren, I apologize in advance because after you try the Clausen's, I don't think you're going to be able to go back to the Vlasic brand. R.E. pickles, large or small pickles? I actually, see, this is where it gets a little weird because if they are a brand that is, like, known for being a little bit softer, like the Vlasics or whatever, then I want the small pickles. But if they're a good crunchy brand, then I want big pickles. And my favorite are actually the wedges. Like the wedge cut. Spears or whatever they call them. Because then if I'm having a really, really bad food day, which happens sometimes, I can scrape the seeds off and not have to eat the seeds. Jana Fidget says, Clausen's is my favorite. Mine too. They are so good. Yeah, Sandra, I only buy the big pickles if I know they're going to be crunchy. If I'm not sure, then I'll get the little ones. Oh, Oren, yeah, I could see if you have like issues with your jaw and your joints and stuff, how the big pickles would be an issue. Clausen's does make like the baby dills too. So they do have small ones if that's what you prefer. Yeah, Bagel, the Clausen spears are generally, like I said, they're always crunchy. I never get soft ones, but it's the seeds that I have a problem with sometimes. So like on the wedges, I can just like scrape off the seeds. Noelle, you're all for the Polsky or Ogorki pickles? I'm not sure what those are, but if they have no garlic, I should probably look those up because I'm not allergic to garlic in the sense that it's gonna kill me if I eat it, but I am sensitive, so like I have to watch how much I eat, but pickles are one of those things where I'm like, I'm just gonna eat the damn pickle. I don't care. Like, and I know it's different from brand to brand, like how much garlic they have and whether they actually have garlic. I don't know. You miss garlic dills, but the pain is not usually worth it. Yeah, there's days. There's days. Fortunately, my garlic sensitivity is not nearly as debilitating as my sensitivity to other foods like dairy and wheat and canola oil, which is a hard one to avoid. So I can handle some garlic, but it's sad not being able to cook with a whole clove of garlic or a whole head of garlic like I used to. Sandra says, guess who just went to get the pickles from the fridge for a little snack? I'm feeling it. Maybe I should have had snacks. Sarah, the person you're talking with doesn't like pickles and your heart breaks every time. But here's the thing, because my partner does not like pickles. He likes sweet pickles. I don't like sweet pickles. He does not like dill pickles. So anytime we go anywhere and he orders something that just automatically comes with a dill pickle, I get a dill pickle. It's fantastic. I fully support having like partners who have different like food tastes than you, because then you or like have opposite food things, because then you can just like trade stuff. It's great. And if I order something with a pickle, then I get double pickles, so it's awesome. Maywin says try cornichons, French pickles. I will have to look for those. I don't know if I can find them here. Is there somewhere I can order them online? I don't have a lot of options where I'm at. Sarah. Yes, see? It works out perfectly. He also just doesn't like cucumbers, like, in general, so I get his cucumbers off of his salads, like, and he gets my croutons because I can't eat croutons. But yes, I think there is something to be said for strategically planning to either date or hang around people who don't like things that you do like, because then you get extra. In terms of food, at least. My threads keep wanting to get twisted in this chain. No twisting. It's not allowed. Maywin says, I find them in every grocery shop. Okay. I'll have to look here. I don't usually go in to shop, like, ever since groceries started to do pickup orders. I do pickup orders all the time because as a disabled person, it's, well, even without it being a panini right now, it's just easier for me. Grocery shopping is one of those things I struggle with a lot. In terms of, like, being able to stand up and walk around for that long of a period of time. So grocery pickup is fantastic for me, but a lot of times if I try to order, like, specialty items, like, they don't get included. You're in New York City, though. That would make a big difference. I am in the middle of nowhere, Ohio. There is not much here. But they may have them at my local grocery store. I'll have to check and see. Oop, I think we're on the last ring with this bobbin. I'm gonna have to refill. Noelle says, I see them everywhere and our grocery pickup is pretty reliable for pickles. As someone on a Canadian island. Yeah, I think some of it here is just, like, our local grocery chain, mostly the pickup is usually worked by, like, younger kids. Like, especially the weekend crew, because we always get groceries on the weekend, is, like, teenagers or people under 25, I would say. And I think some of it is just they don't know where to find things. And I understand, like, they are on a tight schedule with that stuff. So I think sometimes it's just easier for them to hit that it's out of stock or not available rather than spend 20 minutes searching for it. And I don't blame them. I honestly don't. If there's something that I wanted that wasn't included in, like, the pickup, I just... You know, it's a lot easier for me to run in and grab one thing or two things versus having to do, like, an entire grocery order. So, But a lot of the time, I'm also just like, I can live without that. It's not that big a deal. We have actually gone over on time as well. It is already 4:18. I think I'll stay on until about 4:30, but then I will have to go. But I think we made some pretty good progress. At least I made some good progress. And hopefully if you were stitching along with me today, you made some good progress as well. Oh my goodness, Emerald, they replaced the vegan cream cheese with a dairy version. Oh. Our store is honestly pretty good about that. If it's something that's like a dietary restriction kind of item, like they're usually pretty good about not subbing in things that are, you know, like if I order gluten-free crackers and they don't have the specific ones, like they offer an alternative gluten-free. But I think there's some things too where it's like the system just doesn't allow them to just pick random things. Like it has to be something that's a similar brand or something. So I don't know. It may be a little bit different there in Canada too. Yeah, Noelle, it can be very difficult when you have certain restrictions. I completely understand that. So I eat specific foods, and then the rest of my family mostly has like no restrictions. So some of the stuff, like if it's something where it's like, no, I specifically need this brand with this flavor because of these specific ingredients, then I just check the little no substitutions box and move on. It can be a little frustrating sometimes, but for me, it is more frustrating and more painful to have to go in and grocery shop. So we all pay in different ways. I do feel like our grocery store here locally has good alternative options for certain things, so pretty lucky there. Or in multiple special foods needs in the house means 90% of the grocery order is no substitutions. Yeah. It's rough sometimes. It is. And ours has an option for delivery too, and I think the delivery options are like more like there's things you can get on delivery that you can't get on pickup, but I've never tried it to see if that's a little bit more reliable in terms of like getting what you put on the order. But most of the time there's only like 1 or 2 items that don't get included in our pickup order, so I don't worry about it too much. Plus, if I really, really need something, my partner works right next door to a grocery store. His workplace is located right next to a grocery store, so like he can just stop on his way home from work and pick stuff up, which is really, really nice that we have that option and that he's willing to do that most of the time. So especially when it's stuff that's like just for me. He never complains about needing to do that or me asking him to do that. This is where it gets a little bit tricky because now with needing to tie in new thread, I have 3 threads running through my core on my chain here. Sandra, he does want me to remember to eat. Yes, I do struggle with that, so. He's really good about, like, if I ask for something specific and they, like, don't have it, I'll just be like, oh, you know, like, if, like, the other day they didn't have the specific brand of gluten-free crackers that I like, and so I was like, oh, you know, just whatever, some gluten-free crackers that are safe for me to eat, because he knows all my food restrictions. So he brought home like 4 different boxes of things that I haven't tried. And he was like, here, I just got you all these options so you can try some new stuff. I was like, okay. It's like 1 box was all I asked for, but he brought me 4, so. It was very sweet, yes. He does that kind of stuff all the time. Yeah, don't tell him I said so, but he's a sweetheart. He really is. We can't let him know that I actually like him, though. Sounds like a keeper. Yeah, it's been going on 16 or 17 years or something like that. I don't know. I lost track. Bagel says I'm Ace Arrow, but I'd consider having a partner if they're going to bring me 4 boxes of crackers at a pop. Hey, you know what? There is something to be said for even just platonic life partners. Like, just to have somebody that cares is nice. So he's not lurking on my streams. He might be, I don't know. He does sometimes. He might also just be playing video games with this running in the background. I'm sure he'll pop in and say something if he is. I don't keep an eye on like the lurk. I know some people like pay attention to who's lurking or whatever. I don't really pay that much attention to that. Not that you're not welcome if you're lurking. I still appreciate you being here. I'm just not, have other things I'm focused on. Like trying to figure out which shuttle thread I want here. He might know that I like him now. Oof. I don't know if I can handle that. I take it back. No. I think he might know that I like him a little bit by now anyways. But it's okay. I overfilled my bobbin. I'm really bad about doing that. Does he also know that I think he's a sweetheart? Shh. I never said that. No. Imral says I overfill my bobbin every time because in my head it makes sense. Yeah, it's that I can fit a little bit more on there and I'll run out less quickly. Yeah. And then you end up fighting with it. I don't know that it's really worth the hassle. Ugh. Alright. Let's see how far I got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We are more than halfway there. Or I am more than halfway there. Hello, Magpie. You caught us just at the end. It is almost 4:30, so I am getting ready to jump off and go make some food. Y'all got me talking about food again. Got me hungry. So that is where we are at today. Yes, I think we are at a good stopping place. I am absolutely in love with these colors. I think this is going to be really, really cute. And I am glad that I picked these colors to work with because it actually made me excited to do this pattern again. I wasn't sure how that was going to go because I was getting a little bored with it halfway through finishing the other one that I made the other day. So it's funny how colors, choosing colors can make a difference in how excited you are to work on a project. So this is about halfway through my row 1 for this pattern, for this stitch along. I will finish up the rest of the row before next week's stitch along, which is going to be row 2 across the top, which is where we're going to make the little foreheads for our little scully guys across here. So if you are going to join us in next week and want to stitch along, that's where we will be at. And now that Sandra has finally cracked out the tatting towards the end, that's okay. Again, I'm going to post this replay to my YouTube, so no rush. And if you are watching the replay, so the next stream will be, oh gosh, I didn't even check my calendar to see what day it would be on. So that would be February 13th. So if you are watching the replay currently, if it is before February 13th, our next stitch along is going to be on February 13th. Same time from 2 p.m. to 4 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you are going to join in then, I will see you then. If you are watching the stitch along replay after that fact, then I will continue posting the replays to my YouTube, and I will try to group them all together so they are easy to find and all of that good stuff. Absolutely feel free to post any questions that I didn't have a chance to answer in the Facebook group, or if you are not in the Facebook group, you can send them to me privately. Whichever way is easier for you is easy for me. It's all good. And yeah, so my next stream here on Twitch is going to be my regular Thursday stream. So that will be from noon to around 2-ish. Eastern Standard Time. And if you're going to join me then, I will see you then. I don't know what I'll be working on yet, but it will be something fun. And yeah, as always, really great time. Thank you for joining me here. And yeah, we're going to go get some food and have a good night. I hope that all of y'all have a good evening or day or whatever it is in whatever time zone you're in. And I will see you all later. Bye.